The first time that we get to see every single one of these regions competing does, of course, present a lot of opportunities for learning, as we are, in fact, into Game 1's draft phase.
Indeed, and so let's get into it. Obviously, this is what we've all been waiting for, and super excited to see what's going to be brought to the table, in particular by Team Macau China. I think they're the unknown quantity. We probably have a little bit more of an informed opinion as to what we're going to get from Team China. Certainly going to be looking down towards the ADC role. Jinx seems to be a favorite for Hope. But let's kick things off with a couple of the bans. I mean, nothing too out of the ordinary so far. All of these are really high priority champions in the current meta. Zeri Yuumi taken away, and of course Nico on the other side. I think Nico's the highest pick ban rate champion at the moment, so it looks like Team China just does not want to deal with that.
The Nico well up there with Milio as well. Yuumi being taken away kind of limits the amount of Enchanter supports that are going to be available. Vi, I actually don't mind this ban, but usually you're picking Vi into something like a Zeri, so it makes you wonder exactly what they're looking towards as their AD carry pick here for Hope. And maybe it is that Jinx playstyle with the Zeri and the Yuumi already gone, and Milio being banned as well. Team Macau China does not want to deal with these bottom lane champions.
Yeah, I mean, what does that lead us towards? Are we looking towards maybe a Lulu pickup on their side, or is it something like maybe they want to try to play towards a little bit more of an aggressive lane, some more engaged supports?
I think you're right on the money there. I think it is going to be closer towards more like a Leona or a Nautilus type support. And you can see the Draven ban here as well by Team China is a clear indicator perhaps that it could have been some kind of Draven Leona lane together. Something that is super aggressive, as they immediately slam their Macau.
Yeah, one of the interesting things I would say about Team China is that of any of the teams, I would imagine that they're going to be the one with the most resources to do scouting and try to sort of figure out opponents drafting prior to jumping into any of these games. So I'd expect maybe some target picks, target bans, something like that coming through from Team China, if from anyone. But even then, in a tournament like this, it's always going to be a little bit difficult in that respect to sort of be doing that super in-depth analysis, particularly for maybe a team like Team Macau China, who, again, even for us, it's a little bit difficult to sort of see where a lot of these players have come from. So that said, you know, like I said, I think if anyone's going to be able to do it, it's probably going to be the resources of Team China. We do have the Jace, which is a fairly common go-to for Shanks. It's not really too much of a surprise coming through there. Nautilus as well up there in terms of the engaged supports of late, so sort of a bit of an evergreen support down in that bot lane ever since he found himself into that role. Seems to be a favourite.
An interesting thing here as well though is that Jace usually has to go mid. The way that Jace used to be is he was a top lane champion that could occasionally be flexed elsewhere. Jace is effectively just a mid lane champion presently, because there's a lot of things that can deal with him if he goes to a longer lane like top. It is admittedly much harder to gank a mid lane Jace, because he can just quite simply run away with the gate with his passive change of movement speed as well. But Maokai, very good at it, with having the guaranteed hit of the Twisted Advance, and Tristan are going to be the third pick here as well for Faith, presumably in mid. That is a dangerous duo.
Certainly. It's quite an explosive duo, for lack of a better word. Obviously, Tristana likes to get in there pretty early, likes to do a lot of damage and tries to sort of snowball things a little bit. With the assistance, of course, of Maokai. Should make for some pretty straightforward ganks, but then again, we still have yet to kind of see what that mid-jungle matchup is going to look like for Team China. So maybe there's going to be a bit of a threat coming through there. Gwen, the ban, so once again targeted towards the top lane, not wanting to see maybe a little bit of a semi-counter pick into that Cassante.
Yeah, a scaling carry as well as a magic damage option, I think, is the primary reason they choose to ban that away. I think a second ban here from Team China could even be looking towards things like a Rumble or a Gragas, right? Try and really limit down the AP champions that are up there. Malphite actually a very good ban as well for the exact same reasons. And is also very difficult to deal with for something like the Jason if you're going to go with Jinx or something like that as your low mobility AD carry.
See the Sejuani ban coming through, so targeting the jungle and the ADC role, but the issue is they have left Jinx open, and I think when Hope has the option to go towards Jinx, that is going to be a champion that will be pretty much insta-locked in. Once again, we've seen that proven the point, so Jinx and Nautilus down in the bot lane for Team China. Looks like a fairly formidable duo. Braum is the answer.
Okay, Braum. I mean, Braum very pickable into melee characters. You've got a Cassante, you've got a Nautilus that are going to be there as well. And Kennen actually going to be the last champion that goes with it. So we spoke about that magic damage being a necessity, but that is a Kennen picked and an immediate Janna as a response. So that puts the Nautilus into jungle, I believe. And the cool thing about Team China's draft is that in reality, the Jace and the Cassante were still flexed right until the last second if you wanted Cube to play that Jace. He's much more of the facilitator for this team, so I can't say it's too surprising where they've ended up. I love this Janna option for really the express purpose of stopping a Kennen from existing. You might be able to deny resets from a Tristana. You're a very annoying champion to deal with as the Xayah in lane, potentially as well, throwing tornadoes out. But Braum can block it. So it's not necessarily one of those picks where, like, double range champions into a Braum lane, very tough to deal with for the Braum, full stop. So I really like the flexibility that they've just shown. We do know that Hung can play the Nautilus. I don't want to say that is too surprising. His debut game, this split in the LPL, was on the Nautilus. But this is a very nice draft from them to try and counteract, you know, exactly what Team Macau China did on the blue side.
Yeah, do you think that's really what this was all about? It was just more of Team China having a look at it and saying, okay, we're going to play a little bit more reactively with this draft rather than try to play towards our own strengths necessarily, and we'll see what you throw at us, and then how do we want to sort of look towards that and figure things out from there.
Yeah, it certainly feels like that. The one thing I will say, though, and I think this is quite important to keep in mind, is that the magic damage of Team China is almost invisible. They don't really have any. It's going to be a Nautilus that holds it down. So if they fall behind, they run the potential of having very limited damage output. But for what it's worth, their opponents aren't full of tanks. There is a Maokai that can go tanky. There's a Braum that can Emax and be tanky as well, but the carries will still fall.
Yeah, double 80 carry setup as well for Team Macau China. I think that's obviously something that Team China will have to be a little bit aware of, right, early on in the game. Bursting down some of these neutral objectives in the jungle, the Dragon, the Rift Herald tends to go a little bit quicker, particularly when those ADCs do start to scale into the game. But with that said, obviously, you'd expect Team China to sort of be all over that, right? They're going to be a really, really omnipresent team. They're going to know what's going on, and they're going to be feeling pretty comfortable. So I dare say it'll be a little bit difficult to get away with anything too sneaky here as Team Macau China. But it does look like we are getting ready to get underway with game number 1 of the Road to Asia Games 2022. Jump onto the Summoner's Rift, and, well, we'll see how this is all going to play out.
Very exciting first game to kick us off here as well. Team Macau China against Team China. A lovely little Janna pick 5th as well on the red side here for Team China to be very excited about, and I think definitely putting my attention more towards the bottom lane as the game starts is where a lot of that focus will be. But with that in mind, Zoe in top lane on that Kennen, you can't give him an inch in this game, or he gets one good ultimate and suddenly team fights are all too easy for them to get.
Yeah, I suppose first point of contact to note here in this game is you've got deep wards on both sides towards the red buff. So both teams looking for a bit of early vision. And I1D just chilling in the bot lane bush to see whether or not there was going to be anything sneaky done by Team Macau China, but...
Yeah, last year, both jungle champions were simply supports.
Yeah.
How quickly the game can change with that in mind. It's very early on. You mentioned those wards. I1D Hope do get to just start in lane. Both teams, all 4 players down in the bottom lane, just going to be starting here. And very important that a Braum and a Xayah does this. They don't lose lane control really quickly, because someone like I1D on this Janna is going to be relentless. You don't want to give them more space than they already have.
I mean, that's already really annoying when you're playing as an ADC to be starting and the very first tornado just hits you in the face. You know, you're starting to think, okay, well, this is just not going to be a fun lane at all. Up in the top lane, do we expect anything? Do we expect any magic really happening here? I mean, Kennen, of course, likes to push the issue a little bit, but tends to be that the top lane, you know, doesn't see too much fire at the moment.
Yeah, a couple of things here as well. Is like it's a volatile top lane. It's a fairly volatile mid lane as well, and it's also 2 very good ganking junglers. So I think the biggest thing you're going to see right now is push from Hope and I1D, trying to keep them busy. Jace has to be very careful. This opens up some potential options for Maokai ganks bottom, because there should be priority for this Tristana. And you can see it's very annoying.
Yeah, you can already see the difference being made down there in the bot lane. Hung looking for something a little bit sneaky here.
Straight to the red. Remember, he was spotted at his own red. They may not have expected him to path red to red like this. NH is going to have no idea.
Well, it's going to be an unfortunate awakening for him right there as the hook does connect, and, well, he's pretty much a dead man unless he flashes over the wall, but in doing so has to sacrifice his own red buff, and already now you're behind in jungle prio levels and experience and, well, really pretty much everything. It sits early on in the piece, but we're seeing a gap already starting to be shown.
Sea actually showing here to clear wards. Hung's about to find him. They know the Nautilus is there. Dangerous move. Hook hits.
This might force another flash. We'll see what I1D's going to do about it. No Ignite available. The Tornado does not go through, but a flash forced from both the jungler and from the support of Team Macau China, and it's not really for much result in the end.
No, it is just going to be a red buff taken away, but the control they get in bottom lane, you can see this wave as well, and the size of it as it's about to crash. They have to direct some attention and support down here from the Macau.
Yeah, Team China pushing their way forward. The door will go up. Hope under a bit of pressure right now. Uses the cleanse, but still doesn't quite get that last hit onto Sea Lion. And so first blood will actually in the end go the way of Team Macau China. And I suppose that flips the script up a little bit. That was not what we expected.
No, the kill result perhaps not what we expected here. When all things are considered, though, you can look at the CS difference between both ADs. It is still something that's quite fine overall for Hope and I1D, but 3 Summoner spells gone and the first blood given over. They'll be very happy with that if you're Macau China.
Yeah, you just kind of get the sense, though, that Team China is trying to get on top of this game early. They're really trying to push the issue. Dare I say, even maybe disrespecting a little bit. They're playing very overly aggressive to try to bully Team Macau China into submission.
Lots of aggression still happening mid as well. We'll watch the replay one more time here, and this is the forefront of really good tornadoes, the flash forwards, but the door is there, and NH was busy doing the Krugs, but just off getting that kill. One auto attack, that little extra exhaust that was there perhaps was enough, even though it was cleansed.
Yeah, indeed. Well, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of fun in the jungle happening right here for Team Macau China. As once again, you just have another visitor kind of popping in, saying hello. Uninvited guest, essentially, from Team China into the blue side jungle. Seeing some small advantages across the board.
Mid in particular is the place that, you look at the CS, you press tab, it doesn't feel like it's a significant advantage, but Shanks has really pushed this back onto Faith. Every time you look mid, he has control in the 1v1, right? He's keeping Faith at bay. Just like this, the extra pressure goes down. Doesn't give a chance for a counterplay, doesn't give a chance for a response. Very nicely handled in this mid lane. Bot lane, while the kill was there, the pressure still belonging to Team China as well, to be sure. And top, very much just business as usual. Stack that magic resistance, be a tanky boy if you are Cube. So my eyes still go to these junglers.
Every skill shot that's thrown from Team China pretty much is connecting at this point. And that's obviously a big problem for Team Macau China. Suffering a lot of HP loss when you wouldn't ordinarily be expecting to be as low as you are. And both the bot lane and mid lane prio do give the opportunity here to Hong to start that dragon up.
And it seems like it is going to be completely uncontested here as well, like you just highlighted. That priority just going to be a bit too good for securing this one. Kind of look towards the next objectives. And one big question that I have as well here, looking at both of these compositions, is I guess in regards to scaling, because there's a lot of really nice things on Macau China's side. Right? The Cannon in team fights, the Tristana especially with 1-2 items disappearing and just hitting a turret and it's immediately gone. And the Xayah in late game team fights can do so much damage still.
Yep.
So I have a lot of things that I like about the composition overall, especially noting that the Team China has very limited damage types, right, being primarily physical. So that's where I think a lot of this comes down to, does Macau China say we're scaling, it's okay? We have so many options late game for win conditions. Do we just chill? Do we just let the game happen? I don't think the Team China is going to let that happen.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, is that even, exactly like you say, something that is going to be allowed to them? And is it the right mentality to be coming into this game with, right? If you just sort of let the game play out, does it just eventually kind of get away from you? And you never end up scaling. I've had no shortage of games like that where you go in, you're like, yeah, we've got the late game composition. We just need to hit, 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes. And by 15 minutes, it's quite obvious that the game is already over and it's just a matter of time. So something that you do sort of have to kind of be cognizant of and ensuring that you're not really falling behind too much. 2 CS, 3 CS gap in the top lane, nothing to really be too worried about. 10 to 15 maybe in the jungle is starting to creep up a little bit. Down in the bot lane, though, is where things are starting to become a little more problematic. And that's where, in 5 minutes' time, that difference is really going to start to be made by full item completions versus half item completions, that kind of thing.
And devastating that the first blood did in fact go over to NH instead of Hole in mid. As Jinx ultimate flies just past, just whisks past. Faith not going to receive that one, but the pressure from Team China is just a little bit too high, right? The Janna's rotated to mid for that play with the Jinx ultimate. Rift Herald's already been started. Is definitely going their way, and NH is about to confirm this one. Level 6 is there from Zoe, but to get this playoff successful, you can see he immediately uses the Lightning Rush and says, we can't.
Yep. Well, the Rift Herald is going to be allowed to reset, so Team China maybe not so confident in finishing that one off. Down in the bot lane, it still continues to just be a farm lane for the most part. But that gap is still growing, and not to mention just the CS lead, there's also now the tower plates to kind of come into play as well. This will be the second one for Hope to pick up, so 175 gold in the back pocket straight up. It's a lot of money going over to the ADC.
And that's why it's also a great reason to disengage from that as a hook hits.
Indeed. Door does have to go up, cancels out the tornado. And here's the counter engage actually from Team Macau China. They want to get into the thick of things right here. They do, in a sense, have the numbers. It's almost a 4-on-1 right there onto the Jace. But the problem is going to be when Cube arrives and starts to tank up the Storm. Is anyone there even to help him out right now? Team China are unable to gain an advantage. And to be quite honest with you, Rusty, it seems like it's Team Macau China on the front foot.
It always looks that way with these skirmishes and how they're kind of panning out. But once again, if you pan back to bottom for a second and remember how much time has passed that a Jinx has just been winning that 1v1, Team China is still 1,000 gold ahead. They're still in control of this game, and another turret play potentially at risk of falling, right? The longer that they stay in this isolated situation. So really good from Macau China to stop any kind of plays in a cross-map sense from China, but...
Uh-oh. See if this one is going to find the steal.
No, not this time. Not this
time. Look, I mean, that's the first, I think, positive sign really for Team Macau China. Picking up the Rift Herald, they get it for themselves. I mean, look, they got First Blood, but First Blood, I would make the argument, might have been off a bit of a misplay from Team China. In this case, it feels like Macau China have at least found an advantage on the top side of the map.
They have the potential to have found an advantage, right?
Sure.
That's the thing about the Rift Herald is, until it is summoned, you don't know what it's actually going to provide, but at the very least, it stops Team China from finding anything. And so, lots of possibilities here for Team Macau China. Hope and Ho also yet to actually get those resets off, as they've been sitting down here for such a long time, and there's going to be a lot of money in those pockets when they go back to base. That's probably the next big thing you can see from them as well. And where does that resource actually get placed? With a Drake up in less than a minute, I am surprised that they haven't got a base off from Hope.
Oh, this could be an awkward spot to find yourself in. It looks like, again, Team Macau China want to be on the front foot. Faith jumps in on that Tristana and once again looks for some damage. Hope not quite finished off, and the same for the Maokai, both surviving. But again, the damage is certainly there for Team Macau China. Nautilus Ultimate able to finish off one more. And in the end, it does turn out to be a 2-for-1 trade, maybe 3-for-1, as Team China will walk away very happy, but it was a game of inches.
How many times are we going to say that in this game as well? Surviving with 10 HP, they flash away to safety. That happens repeatedly, and meanwhile, Hung just having the time of his life on this Nautilus, just throwing abilities off cooldown, stunning people, auto-attacking, living the absolute dream. Gets himself 2 kills, and the Jinx ultimate on that 1 health Jinx. Hope just barely surviving, ends up finding the 3rd kill for them. So dream situation for Team China of what looked really rough at the start of this one, and that's the key feature here, right? NH goes in, they find their target. Hope very much locked down and devastating game state right now, but he survives. I wonder if flashes to have a sweeper to make sure there's no vision to secure him. The Jace ultimately gets targeted here as well, but at the cost of 2 people, and Hung had the absolute dream.
Yep. That fight could have gone a lot differently had had Faith on that Tristana been able to get some resets, but unfortunately not able to. At least not until a little bit too late in the fight. So setting something up right into the mid lane, try and get on top of Shanks on the Jace. He's able to just get himself out of there pretty comfortably in the end, and you're going to have to do better than that if you're Team Macau China and you want to find a kill in mid.
I love the ideas though, right? I respect the proactivity, but at the end of the day, Team China were going to be nearby regardless, and they didn't feel comfortable enough to chase too far. Drake going to be secured here as well, very much uncontested by Team Macau China. Just going to try and take away some jungle camps instead. And a very awkward game state now, I think, for Team Macau China. You can feel the game starting to slip just a little bit, so close to getting these kills. Ooh.
Okay, Shanks is going to try to start something in mid, but the fact that NH is there is just going to push him away. We talked about the Rift Herald and how much value you're going to get out of that. In the end, it's really going to be a one-charge Rift Herald at best case, and so that doesn't really end up being a whole lot of a conversion for Team Macau China.
You can see 72% of voters as well favouring Team China in this one. And so far playing out the exact way that the voters have opted towards. 3 members strong here of Team China. 4 members, in fact, working towards that bottom lane. Sea Lion sees them, but can they protect Hole? He was in a whole lot of trouble.
That is certainly one way to put it, and the fact that there's now a 4th member from Team China down here in the bot lane maybe does mean it's not just going to be one player down, it might be another as well. Sea Lion is not getting out of there at all, tries to force the ult on the back end, but it would not have made a difference.
Not at all. Goes down with the ship, and unfortunately 2 members fall just like that. Faith going to try and push out as best he can, but a teleport's going to come in, deny any further advances, and the cannon teleports to top lane, not able to affect this play or help his team whatsoever. He was busy with the Cassante during this one. You can see how much pressure, how much damage they put down, right? Jace Shock Blast, Jinx hits the zap, and Hung just quite simply has to press ult. And that is it. 1 member gone, and Sea Lion, unfortunately, you know, valiant attempt, tries to get there, recognizes that the play's happening, but falls down with him.
Yeah, it's one of those things here as well, when you see something like that happening, you're wondering what's happening on the other side of the map. Well, we'll hold that thought for the moment, because up in the top lane there might be some shenanigans going on with a bit of a rotation coming through from most of the players, actually. Zoe looking interested in maybe chucking a Slicing Maelstrom in there somewhere, but the angle hasn't quite presented itself just yet. Sea Lion is going to be the point of contact, though, and Cube gets out of there no problems at all.
Yeah, Cassante, when he hits that all-out mode, a little bit too much mobility. You can see now Team China's turn to go in the hook.
Yeah, Sea Lion on the receiving end has to pop the door back up and back away. No kills just yet, but it's certainly looking better for Team China, and Sea Lion is definitely looking like he's out of position. NH will eat the hook, and that'll be the turning point. Slicing Maelstrom will secure at least the 1. Hung down low as well. We finished off, and actually it ends up being a 2-for-0 trade, so Team Macau China are tussling with the best.
Yeah, I mean, Team China flirting with death, and that's exactly what they'll find here in this skirmish. Well done by Macau China. And that's with Zoe being immediately denied any kind of cannon ultimates from a Janna ult herself. So, very well played. Good little outcome on the skirmish. The turret going to drop here as well. Note that during all of this, still, Team China finding money everywhere they possibly can. Still with a 3,000 odd gold lead. And Macau China not out of it. Constantly finding things. Still finding ways to be proactive.
I got to say, I respect it from Team Macau China. If I had to be honest with you, I think I would have come in and said this is just going to be an absolute walkover, but it has been anything but. And once again, another little bit of a tricky play from Team Macau China. Looks like it might catch Shanks off guard.
He's so quick.
He is indeed, and he'll have the backup of Hong, who is now going to try to turn this one back on its head. No flash available for that Nautilus, so the hook doesn't connect. And with that, Team Macau China walk away unscathed. If a little disappointed they didn't get the finishing blow onto Shanks.
I think they would have been happy to get that hook to connect. But we watch this replay one more time. It is quite simply Hung going for all of these hooks. Now, the big thing here is that NH intentionally tanks this one, says, I will take it. Cannon goes in, immediately monsooned out, but the damage was done, right? The Braum passive is the real star of the show in this skirmish. And that's why Braum is just such a prolifically powerful pick with something like a Tristana in mid lane. Cannon can auto-attack as well in team fights with that lightning rush up. And Zarya auto-attacking as well. So Braum stuns happen often and just makes a team composition so much better.
One of the other big issues for Team Macau China at the moment is that they are losing turrets across the board. They've lost all of their first turrets. And that does start to diminish a bit of your map control. They've only really traded 1 back so far. See the lane swap down from Cube down into the bot lane now. So he's just been given that freedom to do what he wants, essentially. Whereas Team Macau China, it kind of feels like they do have to play a little bit more of this Wolfpack style, working together, trying to get those Braum stuns, trying to capitalize on the engages from the Maokai. And Team China, a little bit more split pick, doing what they want, all over the place. Here's another potential engage from Team China as that hook does connect, and TP starts to come through as well. Sui will eat the Nautilus ultimate, but it doesn't really do too much.
Again, just tiptoeing, just looking, right? Just edging around it, seeing if they can find their engages. But not being quite able to find them, so the fight will continue
A couple of the big disengage ultis getting popped in that last fight, though. We do have Maokai and Braum both on cooldown. And Team Macau China just pushed out of the area, which once again is going to give another free dragon over to Team China. It'll be their third, and they are now on Ocean Soul points. In the meanwhile, Faith has been given the opportunity to do a bit of free farm up in the top lane, which is always going to be nice as a Tristana. Scale into the game pretty nicely with the extra gold that you're going to be grabbing.
A very good win condition here as another hook connect.
Yeah, Sea Lion, I'm not sure you're going to be getting out of this one too easily, as we do just see the Gale Force get popped through, and Hope is able to finish things off pretty comfortably in the end. That is a little bit too easy. Those are 2 kills that you can't afford to be giving up at this point in the game.
Yeah, and at the same time, the Herald gets summoned, right? Another hook connect is as well.
I just don't think China is going to be slowing down at all here. They want to try to continue to push the issue. They've got the Rift Herald popped. They've taken down one tower. They're going to be looking for the inhibitor. They might even grab another charge of that Rift Herald, but they do decide to play it safe. And while the Rift Herald will indeed charge, it will be for no result in the end, as the inhibitor is safe for now.
Yep, and once again we see this fight. Braum just gets complete lockdown. Gale Force, of course, over the wall will secure that one. Hope gets all of his mana back, but he's also excited as that lethal tempo proc and just does so much damage. There really is no way to win that 1v1 if you are whole right now, and it's been that way since the beginning of the game, right? 208 CS, 19 minutes in, just cresting over to 20. So far ahead, and has been absolutely having the time of his life in moments.
Yeah, if you had any hope for Team Macau China, I think you just have to look towards the 5-1-1 Jinx with the 200 CS and start to wonder if maybe your hope is a little bit misplaced. It should be there for the ADC of Team China. Pardon the pun. And up to 83% on the live win percent tracker. I might even put that above 90% myself, but maybe it's just scaling into it still.
Cube hunting. Cube really hunting.
Indeed. And Hope is just not going to be able to get out of there alive, not even as a Xayah. Ultimate was not available. Ghost was popped. Flash was not. But would it really have made a difference?
There was no wall to flash over, so I think might have just been chased down. Team China right now looking towards the Baron buff. They're going to start this one on Vision. I don't think they particularly mind feeling strong enough without Hole around on this Xayah pick. Look at the cannon. That is the only person that you could really look at right now to try and kick this off, but Ajana simply exists.
Well, here we go. Team Macau China. This is going to be the last ditch attempt. It's the fight at the 11th hour. There it is. The Slicing Maelstrom does a bit of damage, but again, there's just not enough there, unfortunately, for Team Macau China, and the wipe is more or less in. 1 kill goes over to Faith, and Team China secure Baron. They secure the fight win, and moments away from securing game win in game 1.
Yeah, this 1-for-3 trade, remember that it is effectively a 1-for-4 with the Xayah only just respawning after the play is said and done. Baron secured, and if it comes to it, in 2 minutes time, there will be an Ocean Soul there for Team China. 8, 1, and 2. 3 completed items is the scoreline for Hope on this Jinx, and an absolute monster effort from him in this game, but is so supported by his team. The cannon goes in, but is not damaging anyone that really needs to be stunned, is just putting damage out, and everyone just folds. It's just so much damage so quickly here by Team China.
Yeah, it is one of those fights where you look at it and you say, if Team Macau China was in a little bit of a better position, maybe there was something there, but the fact that they're just so far behind does render most of that damage ineffective, and Tui caught in the top lane, trying to save NH, was actually able to save him, but ultimately gives up his own life, and it's probably not worth it in that respect either way. If one of them goes down, game's pretty much over at this point. Baron buff for Team China, just shoving down the top lane, looking for that top inhib. And Hong, he's not stopping, he's just walking forward.
He's unstoppable for sure. Hope going as well, looking for another.
Why not? At this point, might as well just have a fun game. And that's exactly what this is now for Team China. They are so far ahead. Top lane inhib goes down, mid lane inhib soon to follow.
I think they're just going to go for the end of the game here as well. Macau China have no choice but to fight. Right now, it is all over.
It is indeed. There's a little bit of an attempt coming through here for Team Macau China to try to save themselves. The Maokai ultimate connecting, but those rockets from Jinx are doing so much damage. The Nexus is now open. Cannon in the backline blown up. Sea Lion will have to cower away in the fountain with the door up, and it will only be a couple of surviving members for Team Macau China, but the game is done. It is Team China that pick up the victory in Game 1 of the Road to Asian Games 2022.